spearfishing national champion and legend Geoff Cookson. He's been around the traps for hundreds of years as a spear fisherman, and this show's all about iconic Spearos, and Geoff's been an iconic member of the Northland Port Valley team and club, and probably shot more snapper than the rest of all the Spearos put together in New Zealand. And I suppose first up, Geoff, one of the things we talk about is how is the fishery now as opposed, like, when did you first start?
I started in 1965, and the fishery, we didn't realise it then, but it was pristine. You know, you wouldn't have to swim 50 metres when you'd bump into your first big snapper.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So 65, so we're 2016 now, that's 50 years ago. So 50 years in time is a very short stretch of time, but in 50 years you've seen a huge change.
Huge change. Well, until about 1984, I think, it was when the Japanese price for snapper, we started exporting snapper to Japan. It was $20 a kilo or something. It was huge money for us.
Yeah.
And there were just, I think there were about 130 longliners registered in the Bay of Islands at that stage.
Wow, that's a lot.
And the fishery just went from pristine, and I was swimming there in days I wouldn't see a snapper. It was that heavily hit to start with.
Wow.
And there were just long lines all over the rocks and everywhere. It was a huge hit on the snapper.
So the snapper population came back after that, once they got some quota management organised?
Yeah, it came back, and it's been up and down since.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years I've just noticed it very hard fishing up here. Like I've been out 3 times just before Christmas and didn't spear a fish.
Really?
About 6 hours in the water, swimming, looking for fish.
That's not good then, is it? It's terrible.
Like I can remember you used to swim, you'd jump in a bit of coast and you'd swim 50 or 60 metres and you'd find there'd be 2 snapper or 10 snapper or 20 snapper. Yeah. Now I know I can jump in here and I can swim a mile or kilometre, and I know I'm not going to see a fish.
Wow, it's that big a difference.
And then when I get there, there'll either be 1 there or 3. There won't be 20. You know. There'll just be the odd one here and there.
Like you've seen.
Yeah.
And so you put that down to recreational pressure?
Oh, all sorts of pressure.
Yeah,
I
all
think.
sorts. Yeah.
Recreational and trawlers in certain areas. And, and gill nets.
Gill nets. Yeah.
And the other fishery is the sort of what we call schoolfish, but the trevally and the kahawai and the kikis and the kohu.
Yeah.
There used to be around Cape Brett and the Cavallis. There used to be, there'd be 100 acres of bloody schoolfish there once.
Yeah.
And the purse seiners came along. I'd have forgotten when they came along, and it just wiped it out within a couple of years.
Gone. Yeah. It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's scary.
What's the future for our children's children and so on?
Yeah, it's looking grim.
Yeah.
But they've probably got to spend a bit more money on research and have rules. They're getting reserves, and they're cutting back on quota, cutting back on catch, and increasing the minimum size.
Yeah.
And they've got lots of things they can do to improve it and protect it.
Well, they've got to look at what you do. You're a farmer.
Yeah,
you wouldn't go and sell all your stock, would you? Not buy any more or put any more back into the farm.
Yeah.
Otherwise the farm ain't going to work.
You did right.
And that's the ocean is no different really. It's got to be farmed properly.
And look, the fish at least 2 breeding seasons or something before they're caught.
So you don't send all your cows off to the works when they're in calf, do you?
No.
Whereas we do here with the snapper.
Yeah.
When the snapper are full of roe, that's when we all go fishing them.
We go and kill them.
Yeah, it's not
very clever.
No, it's not very clever.
I'm just a dumb farmer, and that's not very clever.
Yeah. And as far as like big snapper, do you recall what your biggest snapper is? Did you ever weigh a big fish?
Probably. No, I've never really shot a really big one. About 24 pound probably. I've got
really? Even with all the fish you've shot?
Yeah. I've seen one big one. I think it might have been 35 pound. I don't know. It was a monster, but I never.
But you've only seen one?
I've only seen the one.
I meet a lot of guys that see 30 pounders every weekend.
Right. No,
yeah. So you and I all these years, we must have been looking in the wrong spots, eh?
Something's wrong with us.
Yeah. And what about, is there a fish in your career, which, I'm not talking even the snapper, but is there a fish which is the highlight, you know, a great fish you've got?
I've got a bucket list, and I've got wahoos on the top of it, and I haven't got one yet.
Right, so you've still got to get one.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 69.
69, you're still spearing fish flat out and you still want to get those quality fish.
I've got to get that wahoo, especially since your young fella's got a couple and I haven't. It's really pissing me off.
Even I've got a couple. And I suppose another great thing for guys like me and you and Herb and a few others is you've got a daughter that's into the sport. She's been in the New Zealand team a few times. She's an awesome young freediver, doing great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. We're having a great time together. I didn't spend much time with her when she was young, so I'm catching up now. We're going out diving.
But that's the beauty of the sport, you know. You can do it at 69. If she was a rugby player, you might be watching it from the sideline, but you wouldn't be playing with her.
No, it's good. It's good.
And anybody can do it from a young age. You can get your kids into it at 4 or 5 years old, and here you are at 69, and she's 26 or something, and she's still doing it with you. So it's the beauty of the sport of spearfishing.
And a lot of friends. You meet friends, you know, all the Aussies and New Caledonians. You go and visit them, and they look after you.
You got a great common interest, you know, that you're all in it together, doing the same thing. You love the same thing, you know. It's and what about? Have you got a favourite spot in New Zealand?
Oh no, just.
It's on the day with the weather.
Yeah, any with a good viz and a few fish around and a nice spot. But anywhere from sort of East Cape to Cape Reinga.
Yeah. And what about as far as divers you've come across over the years? Is there one that you remember as being the greatest, or that had a special skill, or?
Oh yeah, I followed George Stepava once with a broken fin, and he was swimming along in about 70 feet of water, and he had this old broken fin on and one good one. And I was just keeping up with him, and then he took off at an angle like this and went down to the bottom way over there and speared a fish and up and gone. You know, never saw him again all day.
And so you didn't have all this fancy gear that all these guys have got now, and have to have a watch to know how deep you're diving. He was just a great talent.
Spearo.
What about in New Zealand, some of the guys you've competed against over the years?
Sort of the original guy was probably Bob Roseberry that started off. And all the guys that are coming, Ian Warnock and Patrick Swanson and all those guys that are coming in between, and you and old Brownie. And, and your old man. And,
There's some great Kiwi divers around. And what's your favourite fish to eat? Is it a snapper in New Zealand?
Yeah, I like been eating a few trevally lately.
I love trevally.
And and my old mate netted some flounder the other day and had one, and that was pretty good. Old Dave. And crays, do you like crays? Like you've been a great cray diver? No, we used to get them when I first started diving. We used to go and find a hole with crays, and it'd have 20 or 30 in it. You'd take 5 or 6 of the big ones off the front to give to your friends, and maybe have one, but now they're that scarce I don't even bother looking for them.
They are hard to get, aren't they? I mean, we're at the Cavallis at the moment, and the Cavallis was one of the jewels in the crown for big peckles, wasn't it? There was always lots of big peckles here. I've swum here for 2 days. I saw one little one, tiny one, too small to take, but that was all we saw. We did a lot of looking, just nothing. Everybody's got a 6 metre boat now and can go anywhere, all the latest technology. And the one thing about you that I always remember is your old guns.
My old wooden guns?
Made from, they look like
good too. You're just pissed off because you can't silver your fancy ones.
But the thing about those is you've shot some amazing fish with just an old wooden gun. And you've done it by learning how to hunt fish and not relying on a piece of gear. You think you've got the flashiest gun that's going to shoot round a corner and over the next rock and get a 20-pound snapper. You actually learn how to hunt fish. So it didn't matter too much about the tool. Too many men blame their tools for them not being that great, and they don't learn the art of being a great hunter. Everybody's into this deep freediving. I've got to hold my breath and dive to hundreds of feet. Whereas I don't know about you, but I think my 10 best fish are all in 10 metres and above. Shallow water, but you learn how to hunt them. Forget about all the other
It's
nonsense.
a good thing to learn. It's a lovely thing to learn.
Yeah, yeah. That's like watching a good dog on the farm, you know. When you're going out and all the stars align and you're starting to get quality fish, it's a great feeling. And never mind about the gun in your hand, as long as that spear comes out and it sort of goes in the right direction, you put it there. And how long do you think you can keep going in a sport like this?
Oh, I don't know. My legs are getting a bit tired, so we've got to get them patched up this winter.
To get somebody young to tow you.
Yeah,
Get Gemma to tow you.
But I just go half speed, you know, and I still enjoy it.
And you still get a feed of
I
fish.
get a feed of fish. And
Yeah.
have a good time.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to be in the sport we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the only thing that worries me is that the lack of fish.
The lack of fish, yeah.
Yeah,
How that future holds.
Really needs serious management.
Yeah, yeah. We need to do something. Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few of these interviews and the same thing's coming through in all of them. The lack of fish. From you guys, not a scientist, not some newbie that read something on the internet, but the old guys that have seen it. And here's you from 1965.
Yeah. I don't know about Niwa, but I don't know when they started keeping records. It'd be interesting to look at what they reckon was the total weight of fish in the area when they first started keeping records.
Right.
And we can, if they didn't start way back before we started diving with their records, we can probably extrapolate it back a bit to say what was actually there, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, it's been great talking to you, Geoff. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, and we'll have that cup of tea right now.